Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing my annual countdown of the best albums of the year. So I think last year I'd done this and I managed to cobble together a list of 10 albums. This year though has been a lot different. I've managed to find 20 albums which I wanted to include in this list, because it has been a great year not only for established artists, generally the people who I really sort of listen to, my biggest artists, but also a lot of newer artists as well I've been introduced to, not only through the vinyl community, my great friend vinyl collector James has introduced me to a lot of brilliant new things, but also just things which I've seen maybe has a great review online, so I've thought that I would try it out, and it turned out really liking it. So I've chosen 20 albums. I don't actually own all of them. I could probably have about half of them on vinyl, which I will show but most of these days I'm usually just listening to newer stuff on Spotify, kind of for not only financial reasons, but also kind of just because I really don't have a lot of space and sort of the completeness in me sort of feels if I get one album by an artist, I sort of feel they need to get everything they've ever done. So I didn't buy too many new albums this year, but certainly a lot more than I did last year, just as my taste has expanded. So yeah, enough blabbing on for me. I'll get on with the list at number 20.
I'm gonna make it, then I'm gonna break it till it falls apart.
Which goes to the latest release from Echo and the Bunnymen here, which I did buy. It's called The Stars, the Oceans and the Moon. Now this comes in at last place because it is very much a sort of just a covers album off their own songs. It's a little bit pointless, I feel. The sort of they're made out to be these they're called sort of transformed versions. However, in most cases they don't really sound too radically different from the original songs, which most of them got absolutely perfect anyway. So why they would want to redo stuff like The Killing Moon and Bring All the Dancing Horses, try and better them, is a little bit silly. I mean they aren't too different, like I said, and really really as well Ian McCulloch's voice has deteriorated a lot as well. There are a couple off new original songs. Probably the best of them is The Somnambulist, which was a really great song. I really like that one. That actually gave me some hope for this album. As it is though, it is mostly just redos which you don't really need. So that's Echo and the Bunnymen, The Stars, the Oceans and the Moon. I was actually lucky enough to get a signed copy as well.
I can't run, but I can walk much faster than this. Can't run, but...
So we go on now to number 19 with the latest release from Paul Simon, which was called In the Blue Light. Now, Paul Simon is one of my all-time favourite artists. I absolutely love the guy. This is very similar to the Echo and the Bunnymen one, where it's basically a collection of redos, but rather than that one, which was the greatest hits. On this record, Paul Simon chooses 10 off his solo songs which he feels maybe got underappreciated or ignored. So that's the track list in there, that's the track list in there. And in some cases he completely reinvents the song. The most probably the best example of that is Can't Run But which was originally on Rhythm of the Saints. This one here uses a string quartet on it, and it just sounds so different. They're not other ones though, where it sounds very similar to the original version, for instance Questions for the Angels, which was only released about 6 years ago on So Beautiful or So What. I really can't tell the difference between those ones. So yeah, a little bit of a mixed bag, but certainly a sort of cohesive mood to this record though, In the Blue Light from Paul Simon.
As long as I have you.
Up at number 18, unfortunately I don't own, but to be honest I don't really feel the need to own it. It's the latest release from Roger Daltrey, which was called As Long As I Have You, which just isn't a bad record. I mean, vocally he does sound quite strong. However, this is mostly a collection of cover material. However, I'm not too familiar with any off the originals, and some off that source material is a little bit weak. It has a very sort of generic sort of rock sound to it, you've got a bit of brass in in there. Like you've got you've got this sort of like driving like sort of like drum set to it and that. Like so yeah, like it is like a little bit generic like sounding like this record. Like apparently Roger wanted to make like a new Who album, like whoever Townsend like didn't have like the songs like material, like whoever like Townsend like does actually play like on like most of this album, but yeah, like that doesn't quite rescue it like from being like anything like other than average. Next up at number 17 is by the Arctic Monkeys, their album Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, which, yeah, this one is a little bit like off a confusing one. Like, I mean, like, I'm not a massive Arctic Monkeys fan. Like, I don't own like any of their albums, like, but I could do quite like a few like of their songs. Like, so like I was quite looking forward like to this album, like whether like it's a very much a complete departure like from like their previous sound. Is so got a really sort of jazzy sort of like lounge sort of music like vibe to it, and like I mean like for the first few tracks, like it is like quite pleasant, like whether it really just gets tedious, like it's sort of like very sort of like one-dimensional sort of moods like to this record. Like whether there are some great songs in it, like my favourites probably would be 4 out of 5, and what was it, 1 Point Perspective's like very good like as well. So yeah, that's Arctic Monkeys coming in at number 17.
Standing on the top. Remember when you're falling down.
Next up at 16 is by a group called the Stone Foundation. Now, I got into this band through Paul Weller's involvement with their last album, which was called Street Rituals, which was a very, very good album. Like Weller sings like on like a few songs. Like I think like he produced like the whole record. On this one, Weller's not quite as involved with it. Like I think like he's still there. Like I think he co-wrote a couple like of like the tracks, and like it is a really nice, very pleasing like sort of like soul pop sort of album. Very sort of style cancelly like this album here, and like yeah, like it is just a good listen, like nothing spectacular. So we're coming in at number 16. Next up is by a band who I haven't really checked out too much of like their previous work, like whether like this is one like which was recommended like by like James Lobban, like it's the latest album by James called Living in Extraordinary Times, which this yeah, like it's a real sort of big comeback like for like the 90s indie legends. Like you've got some really creative like arrangements like on this record, and the singer Tim Booth still sounds absolutely great like vocally. Like I said, you've just got like a real sort of like great mix like of like music on it, like maybe like, and like lyrically as well, it's a very sort of angry, bitter album, like very sort of like politically sort of driven. Like so there are quite a few sort of like expletives like in like the lyrics, like which like is a little bit like unnecessary. Like whoever, like I mean, apart from that though, it is a really, really solid record there. By James, comes out at number 15. At 14 is an album by a band called Villagers, who the lead singer from this group, I believe his name's Conan O'Brien, was co-wrote and sang on Paul Weller's latest album, like which like we will be getting to. And like I must say, like I really, really liked his voice, like so like I thought that I would check out like the band like which like he was in, and like again like this is one like which was like recommended like from like James Lobban, like it's an album called The Art of Pretending to Swim. So yeah, like it's just a really, really laid back, very calming album. You've got some really, really nice songwriting. I mean, it's maybe a little bit like very much like one-dimensional like throughout the album. Like whether like there are some like really nice like bits to it. Like there's some sort of like ambient bits. Like there's some sort of folky stuff. Like it's just a really sort of like unique album. Like I feel. So yeah, it comes in at number 14.
This is our country.
At number 13 now is probably one of the surprise albums of the year for me. It's Ray Davies' latest record called Our Country, Americana Part 2. So I bought Part 1 like off like this sort of trilogy that which he's doing like last year, like it came out last year, and like I wasn't too impressed with it. Like so like when like I was sort of like compiling this list, like I thought like, hey, I could give this album a go, might fall, maybe that's like maybe like number 18, number 17, something like that. However, I actually really, really enjoyed this album. It's very much a sort of musical sort of concept album, like so like there are some sort of spoken word bits in it, like whether like it's really never like sort of like pretentious like a lot of like sort of concept albums are. Like it's just about sort of like Ray's connection like with like America. Like there's some especially poignant bits like where like he reflects like on like getting shot like in like New Orleans like a few years back. Like so yeah, like it's just a really nice mix like of like really nice sort of like variety like on this album like as well. Like it's not all sort of like Americana Americana sort of country stuff. Like there's some more like rocky bits like as well. Like so yeah, like a really really strong album there. Like one which I would probably like need to think about getting like on vinyl. Next up we have an album by a group called First Aid Kit, like who I have always really liked, like this like duo. Like they're from Sweden and they've just got a really great sound to them. Like they're very sort of like Americana sort of like folky style, but the harmonies are just absolutely like heavenly. Like their latest record was Ruins, which came out very much like at like the start like of like the year, and this is really great. They've just got, it's very sort of like melancholic album. Like the vocals are just brilliant. It's just got a really nice mix like of sounds like as well. Like it's not all like sort of like Americana like sort of like steel guitars and that. Like there's some like really like creative like arrangements like on there. Like so yeah, like some great songwriting. My favourite song on that album probably would be like It's a Shame. Yeah, a great record there from First Aid Kit.
And all the time we spend inspired.
And now just missing out on the top 10 at number 11 is the latest album from the Charlatan singer Tim Burgess, which is called As I Was Now. Now this one came out I believe on Record Store Day back in April, and like it was actually recorded like in 2008, like whether he's had it like unreleased like for like about 10 years now. And like it is actually very good album. It's a lot more sort of like low-key than like the Charlatans like work. Like whether like I think like this sort of style like really suits like his like voice. Like I mean my favourites like on it are sort of Inspired again, which closes side 1, and another version of The Truth, which opens side 2. Those ones are great. Like I mean there are a few like sort of like clunkers like on this record. Like the last track, like Take Me Places, like isn't like anything too great. Like whether it isn't a bad album, like one which has kind of been like overlooked, like because it is like sort of like a limited like release. Like it's one like which was recorded like years ago, like really kind of like just like for like the fans, like but one which I think like if like he maybe like promoted like this record a bit better, like they could have had like a strong like hit album here. So that's As I Was Now by Tim Burgess. So yeah, the next one is one which you might maybe not expect to be like on my list. It's an album by a band, the 1975. Now these are my sister's favourite band, and like whenever she played them like in like the car like or like around the house, I actually really like their music. Like I mean like it wasn't the greatest thing like I ever heard, like but it was sort of like it was good quality sort of like modern pop music. So this is like their latest record, which is called A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships, and this is probably like their like sort of most ambitious album to date, like I would say. Like I mean like it's got sort of such a strong variety like of like music like on it, like from like sort of like very sort of like modern sort of pop sounds. I think like on the song, what's it called, Two Time, stupid title there, but more sort of like rockier song like Love It If You Made It. You've got sort of like sort of like a lot of great ballads like on it like as well. So yeah, like just a real sort of like variety like to this album, like sort of like great sort of like genre sort of like hopping like throughout it. Like whether like there are like a few sort of like slightly like duller moments like as well. Like so yeah, like it is like a really good album here, like from like the 1975, which comes in at number 10. Another one which people now might not expect to be on my list is the latest release from George Ezra, which is called Staying at Tamara's, which yes is probably the most mainstream pop album like on my list. Like whether like ever since like he broke big like in 2014, like I've always really liked this guy. Like I think he's got a great voice, like he's a great songwriter, like he's like really just an all-round talented guy. Like and like this latest record like is just a really good sort of like upbeat like fun album. Like he had like one of like the biggest hits like of like the summer, like with like the song Shotgun. You've also got like a great song Paradise, Hold My Gill's a really fantastic ballad, as well as a lovely collaboration like with First Aid Kit like on like a song called Saviour. But yeah, like I'm just like very glad that like he's like still like having like great success. Like he really deserves it, and like it's also great to see that like really good quality like pop music like can still like have like a big impact like on like the British charts. Okay, now up at number 8 is an album by a female artist, Courtney Barnett, who I discovered through, I think she was at some festival what was on, it's the biggest weekend, like in Belfast, I think like back in May or something, and like I was familiar with like her last album, like I know Ben Simpson and like James Lobban like really liked, I think it was like a debut album, like so this is like a second album which is called Tell Me How You Really Feel, and most people seem to really not rate this one quite as highly like as the first album. Like, however, I actually think it is like maybe like a little bit better. Like, it's maybe a bit more sort of like immediate like this record here. Like, it's not quite as long. Like, it's sort of like a bit more like sort of like in your face like sort of thing. Like whereas like the first one like it was a bit more sort of like a sort of like a grower album, like one like if like you repeatedly played it, like it would like sort of like reveal more like sort of like about itself. And so yeah, like really just like a sort of like a laid back like sort of vocal style, like whether like it's still got like a lot of passion like this music like as well. Like so yeah, like some great songs like on this album. Probably my favourite would be The City Looks Pretty. Like that's a really fantastic song.
You gotta hear the song that I'm
And now in at number 7 was another sort of recent discovery for me. It's a group called the DMAs, another like Australian band like actually, like Courtney Barnett like was also like Australian, like if I didn't mention. And this is their latest record called For Now. I believe this is also their second album. And it's just a really great sort of, I would say, Britpop revival sort of album. Like if like you're a fan like of the Stone Roses or Oasis or like anything like in that vein, like the DMAs like are really like right up like your street. So yeah, it's maybe not the most like original music, like however they are just great quality songs. I really like the vocalist voice, and like you've just got great production like on it as well. So yeah, the DMAs For Now comes in at number 7.
I'd forget you if I could.
And now at number 6 we've got yet another second album. Notably, like this has been like a good year like for second albums. Like not only like I think like George Ezra's second album, we've got Courtney Barnett's DMAs, and now Blossoms, which is Cool Like You. So yeah, this is a brilliant band. Like they are I believe they're from Manchester, Stockport actually, like to be precise. And this is kind of more sort of like synthy pop direction, like from like their like sort of like previous like album. Like, but you know, the songwriting's like still really like top quality. Like there's some great tracks, like There's a Reason Why, I Never Returned Your Calls, I Can't Stand It, I Just Imagine You's great as well. Like I mean it maybe tails off like on like the last few tracks, like, but certainly like the first side, like like the start like of like the second side is all really good like winning material. So yeah, that's Blossoms, Cool Like You comes in at number 6.
Now everybody's coming to my house.
Okay, so now we're into the top 5. Now these are all kind of more like sort of like the stuff like what like you would maybe expect me to be into like on like my channel, like sort of like judging like sort of like by like my usual content and that. So like I have actually seen like all like of these artists like in concert, like which was like lucky like enough. Like so yeah, the top 5 kicks off with David Byrne's latest album. He was of course formerly like off the Talking Heads. His latest album, American Utopia, which is a really good album here. Like I mean, like there's not too much to say like about it. Like it's just like his like sort of like usual like sort of like quirky style. Like you've got Brian Eno like collaborating like on like a few songs. Like there's some great songs like Every Day Is a Miracle. It's Not Dark Up Here. Everybody's Coming to My House is definitely like the highlight like on this record. But certainly I think the most sort of like remarkable thing like about like this album or like certainly David Byrne this year, like his tour like this year, which was absolutely amazing. Like the staging like of it, just so creative, like the way like they've done it, like with all like the musicians completely mobile like on the stage. Like it is like really like something like worth like going to see. Like hopefully he continues that like next year. Like so yeah, David Byrne's American Utopia comes in at number 5.
How can I tell them? How can I express how it feels?
Now number 3 and number 4 are kind of like interchangeable. Like I was kind of like Ian and ordering like sort of like where to put like these two here. Like whether like I've gone like with like this with this order. So at number 4 we've got Elvis Costello's album Look Now, which is a really great sort of comeback album, like I would say, like for Costello, because his last sort of like proper sort of like pop rock album was in 2008, I think. Since then, like he's done sort of like Americana, sort of like bluegrass album. Like he's done like a collaboration like with hip hop band The Roots. So this is Costello kind of returning like to what like he does best, and like I'm very glad about that, because there's so many brilliant songs like on here. On here, you've got like the really sort of like soulful, like Unwanted Number, Burnt Sugar Like It's So Bitter. You've got some great ballads like Stripping Paper and like Photographs Can Lie. You've got like sort of like the Dylan-esque like Underline. So yeah, a really, really great album. Like hopefully Costello like comes out like with like some more like fantastic music. Like he's had a bit of like a health scare like this year, like but like he seemed to like has like overcome that, and like is in like absolutely fine form. Like again, like I believe like recently playing like a few more concerts. So yeah, look now, the latest record from Elvis Costello and the Imposters.
But it's too late to pay. Still, I wouldn't want it.
Okay, now at number 3, I've gone for Paul Weller's latest album, True Meanings here. So yeah, what a great album. This is very much Paul Weller sort of trying something a little bit different. His last album, which was A Kind of Revolution, was kind of like what we've sort of come to like expect like from Weller, like a little bit. Like it's still absolutely fantastic. Like whether this record, like he goes like in this sort of like acoustic sort of direction. Like you've got like a lot of like orchestration, like embellishments, like as well. And like I must say, the songwriting quality like is still very strong. Highlights include The Soul Searchers, Mayfly, Gravity, Old Castles, Aspects, White Horses. Like it's fantastic like as well. However, I would say it is a little bit long like for like an album like which really doesn't sort of change moods. Like if like he maybe cut out maybe 1 or 2 songs, probably Bowie and Wishing Well, like I would say, I think you would have a much stronger, like a much tighter collection like of songs. However, like as it is, it still remains a really very moving album, like very sort of like appropriate like for like his age. Like I think like he turned 60 this year. So yeah, that's Paul Weller's True Meanings comes in at number 3. Okay, so now at number 2, we've got Paul McCartney's latest album, which is Egypt Station. So yeah, you might be surprised that this isn't actually number 1. Like there is like one more record which I think maybe just slightly edges this one. However, this is a brilliant album like from Paul McCartney. He really like on this album sort of, I would say, summarizes like his whole career like in some ways. Like there's so many different styles like on here, like so many different genres. Like you've got like the very like sort of like I would say sort of blatant like sort of like very commercial sort of sounds like of stuff like For You and like Come On To Me. You've got sort of great ballads like I Don't Know and Do It Now. You've got quirky like experimental stuff like Back in Brazil. You've got like sort of grand like sort of like orchestrated pieces like Despite Repeating Warnings. You've got just classic songwriting like Dominoes and Happy With You. There's just so many wonderful songs I got here. Yes, his voice has maybe deteriorated like a little bit like since new. Like whether I think the quality like of like mostly like the melodies like on this record like more than makes up for it. A lot of people like also pick on like the lyrics like on this album. Yes, they're maybe not really profound like or like sort of like or like sort of like they don't have much sort of deep meaning. Like whether like that's not really like the point like with like Paul McCartney. Like it's just fun, upbeat like pop music here. So yeah, like Egypt Station, like although this is also a very long album, I don't think it suffers like for like its length like either. So yeah, comes in at number 2 on my list. At number 1 for me, just edging out Egypt Station, is the latest from the Smiths legend Johnny Marr, his latest album was called The Comet, which came out back in June, I think, this year. So yeah, this is definitely his best solo record to date. Like if like you've not heard this album and like you're even like the smallest bit like a fan like of like the Smiths, definitely give this a go, because he really sort of like just again a bit like McCartney sort of summarizes like all like the different sort of styles like which like he's like covered like throughout like his like career. Like you've got like sort of like the Smithsy sort of styles like of like Day In Day Out like, and like Hi Hello, sort of very sort of like breezy jangly songs, like as well as like sort of like funk like on like Bug, like sort of like electronic styles like all like New Dominions and like Attractor, more sort of like rockier moments like as well like on Rise and Hey Angel, as well as like sort of like a song like Walking to the Sea, very much inspired like by like his work like with Hans Zimmer like on like various like film like sort of like projects. So yeah, an absolutely fantastic album here from Johnny Marr. It is a million times better than Morris's latest offering, Low in High School, which came out last year. Yeah, like I just think that lyrically, like he's on point, like musically, like the arrangements like are so sort of like varied like throughout this album. And like again, it is quite long, like there's 12 tracks, like it clocks in like at about just under like an hour. Like whether like a bit like Egypt Station really doesn't suffer like for like its length. So yeah, wonderful record. My album of the year, Johnny Marr, called The Comet. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed this list. Like as I think I said like at the start, this isn't gonna be like the most like definitive list. Like I mean like sort of like most other like music critics like and like fans like would probably have like a very different like opinion. Like whether like this is just like sort of like music like which sort of like matches my taste. Like it's like some like of like my favourite artists like had a absolutely great year. Like sort of like McCartney, Weller, like Elvis Costello, Ray Davies even like had a surprise good album. So yeah, it has been like a really good year like for new music. Like as I think I said like at the start, definitely check out like Vinyl Collector James's top 50 list, like which is a lot better than this, like a lot more like sort of like variety like on like his list. Like so yes, like I will link that in the description. And yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.